So it's actually happening. God of War is officially getting the live-action treatment, and this time it's not just another rumor. Amazon Prime Video and Sony Pictures have teamed up to bring Kratos, Atreus, and the brutal Norse world to life. But the real buzz? Recent casting breakdowns might have quietly revealed exactly who's showing up and which parts of God of War and Ragnarok the show is pulling from. Now, before we start imagining the blades of chaos in live action or debating who should play Kratos, let's be real for a second. Video game adaptations are a tricky business. For every masterpiece like The Last of Us, we've seen a Resident Evil or Halo that just didn't land. So yeah, this one's exciting, but it also comes with some serious question marks. Let's break down what's been confirmed, what's been hinted, and what it could all mean for one of the most anticipated live-action game adaptations ever. The God of War series has quietly been in the works since late 2022. It's a partnership between Amazon Studios, Sony Pictures Television, PlayStation Productions, and of course Santa Monica Studio, the same team behind the iconic games. From the start, it was meant to be part of Amazon's growing push into game-to-screen adaptations, joining Fallout and Tomb Raider. But it hasn't exactly been a smooth ride. Originally, the Wheel of Time showrunner Rafe Judkins was leading the project. Then, according to Deadline, he and executive producers Hawk Ostby and Mark Fergus exited after creative differences. Now, depending on how you look at it, that could be a red flag or a blessing. Sometimes creative shakeups lead to better focus, and that seems to be what happened here. Amazon brought in Ronald D. Moore, the guy behind Battlestar Galactica and Star Trek. That's a pretty huge move. Moore confirmed that Amazon already ordered 2 full seasons up front, which is rare and shows real confidence in the project's direction. Filming hasn't begun yet, but production is expected to kick off next year. And while no official cast has been announced, the internal casting sheets have leaked online, giving us a pretty good look at who's who in this world. Let's start with the obvious duo, the father and son that changed the face of PlayStation storytelling forever. The lead character, codenamed Zion, is described as a war-hardened man haunted by loss and violent past. Yeah, no surprise. That's Kratos. Every single word fits the Ghost of Sparta perfectly. He's older, broken, trying to start over, in a world that refuses to let him in. After losing his wife, Kratos is left to raise his young son Atreus, who's listed under the name of Joshua in the casting notes. He's smart, curious, and desperate for his father's approval, which perfectly matches their dynamic from God of War 2018. Interestingly, Atreus is listed as a one-year series regular, hinting that Season 1 will focus primarily on the 2018 story, while Season 2 might move into Ragnarok. If that's true, Season 1 could center around Kratos and Atreus' journey to spread Faye's ashes atop the highest peak in all the realms. Done right, this story could be something truly special. But if the emotional tension between Kratos and Atreus doesn't translate, the whole thing could fall flat. That's the risk. Next up, there's a role named Alexander, a manipulative, all-powerful patriarch obsessed with prophecy and control. Yeah, that's Odin. In God of War 2018, Odin wasn't a typical villain. He wasn't about brute strength. He was a master manipulator, a strategist, the kind of man who could win wars with words instead of weapons. The casting notes describe him as a man willing to sacrifice his family for survival, which fits his character to perfection. Now, Odin never appeared on screen in God of War 2018, but his presence was everywhere, in myths, runes, whispers, and fear. Including him early on suggests that Amazon may be blending storylines from both God of War 2018 and Ragnarok into one continuous arc. It's a bold move, but also risky. Part of what made Ragnarok so powerful was the build-up, the slow unveiling of Odin's influence. Compressing that could rob the story of its slow burn tension. But if they pull it off, Odin's presence could set the stage for something truly epic. Then we have Roy, described as a broken man burdened by guilt and alcoholism after years of violence. That's Thor, but not the version we know from Marvel. This Thor is tragic, brutal, and deeply human in all the wrong ways. The casting notes describe him as a dormant volcano ready to explode, which is exactly how Ragnarok portrayed him. A god weaponized by his father, used and discarded. Thor's listed as a recurring guest star in Season 1, with an option to become a regular in Season 2, which suggests that he might not fully appear until later in the first season, possibly setting him up as the next big threat. And then there's Phoebe, described as a woman who feels like an outsider despite her marriage to a powerful man. That's Sif, Thor's wife. She's smart, diplomatic, and one of the few Asgardians who sees through Odin's schemes. Including her is a great move. She humanizes the Asgardian side of the story, showing us the emotional cost of Odin's schemes and Thor's downfall. Now, let's talk about Glenn, described as handsome, calculating, and carrying his father's manipulative streak. That's Baldur, no question. In God of War 2018, Baldur was one of the best written villains in modern gaming. He was both terrifying and tragic, a man cursed by invulnerability, numb to every sensation. His pain made him cruel, but also pitiable. If the show captures even half of that emotional complexity, it could be powerful television. But this is where casting really matters. Baldur isn't just rage, it's torment, sadness, and years of emotional decay wrapped into God's body. Another key character is Julia, described as a wise woman haunted by her past, living in isolation for a century. That's Freya, easily one of the most layered characters in the franchise. She's Odin's former wife, Baldur's mother, and a goddess torn between love and vengeance. Her journey in the games from ally to enemy to reluctant ally again is heartbreakingly human. She's reportedly a recurring guest star in Season 1 before becoming a full regular in Season 2, which perfectly fits her arc. She starts as a mysterious friend, then becomes one of Kratos' most personal enemies before finding redemption. There are also some smaller but still important names. Annalise is described as a mysterious warrior and loving mother, but she's voice only. That's Faye, Kratos' late wife. Even though she's gone, she's the emotional anchor of the story. Her final wish sets everything in motion. Then there's Frida, a strong, loyal commander of elite warriors. That sounds like Sigrun, the Valkyrie queen. Her presence could hint that the Valkyries will play a bigger role early on, not just as endgame bosses. And Lassen, a charming immortal, skilled hunter, and protective older brother, seems to be Magni, Thor's son. If he's in Season 1, expect some big action scenes before the main Asgardian gods even show up. When the show was first announced, Amazon Studios' Vernon Sanders said, God of War is a compelling, character-driven franchise that will captivate audiences with its expansive world and rich storytelling. Sony's Catherine Pope called it beautiful and heartbreaking, and PlayStation Productions' Asad Kizlabash promised a bold and authentic adaptation. Now, those sound like PR lines, and to be fair, we've heard them all before, but there's one big difference this time. Sony itself is directly producing it, not just licensing it. That's a good sign. It means Santa Monica Studio and PlayStation Productions have creative control. The same team that made the games is guiding the show. That can make all the difference between a cheap imitation and a faithful reimagining. Everything we've seen so far points to the show following the God of War 2018 storyline pretty closely. Kratos, now older and more reserved, has exiled himself to Midgard. He's trying to live a quiet life, far from the chaos of Olympus. But after his wife's death, he and his son set out to fulfill her final wish, to spread her ashes atop the highest peak in all the realms. It starts small, but the deeper they travel, the more dangerous the world becomes. They encounter monsters, gods, and the ghosts of Kratos' past, all while uncovering the truth about Atreus' real identity. If Season 1 ends where the 2018 game does, the finale will almost certainly reveal that Atreus is actually Loki. That moment would make an incredible cliffhanger for the series, setting up Ragnarok for Season 2. On paper, everything looks incredible. The characters, the mythology, the emotional depth. But video game adaptations walk a fine line. Kratos isn't just a fighter, he's a man who's constantly battling his own rage. His story is about grief, forgiveness, and learning to be a father. If the show forgets that and focuses only on the action, it'll lose what makes God of War truly special. Then there's the tone. The games balance quiet, personal moments with massive mythic battles. That emotional pacing is hard to replicate on screen. But if Ronald D. Moore and his team manage to capture that, the quiet before the storm, the quiet conversations between Kratos and Atreus, and the raw heartbreak, then this honestly could stand shoulder to shoulder with The Last of Us. But still, we've all seen great projects fall apart before, so for now, cautious optimism feels like the right call. So here's where we're at. Production's gearing up, the cast is forming, and the creative vision seems stronger than ever. With 2 seasons already greenlit, Amazon clearly believes this could be their next big hit. The real question is, can they deliver the emotional power of the games without losing the intimacy that made them so loved?